she can see something and see the potential in it. Whereas I'm not that good at it. When we originally came and looked at the land, she's like, yeah, we're buying this 10 acres. I was like, for what? What are we going to do out there? But she saw the vision, and now we have a house, and there's power poles coming back to the land and all kinds of stuff.
Well, welcome back, everybody. This is Lynn. This is Violeta. And today we have a very, very special guest, Mr. Dave. And this is the Masters and Violeta's relationship. So I'm really excited because today I get to interview these two. And so we can talk about their story and how they ended up investing in real estate. Hi, guys. How are you doing?
Good. Hey, so yeah, I wanted to bring my husband on here because I've been trying to get him to get involved with real estate. We've been together for like almost 10 years, I think, technically, because we kind of are iffy on like when we actually started dating. But we've been together almost 10 years and married about 5. And like I've been doing the real estate investing this whole time. And it was a lot going on, like moving and all that stuff. So he was kind of mostly focused on that stuff. But now that we're like now settled and everything like that, he has decided to come on board. And so we just finished our first rental property together. It's been fun. It's also like a new journey for me because I am doing more active. I usually do passive where I just buy it and then send it off to the property manager, and then they take over and they do everything they can do. But this time we did everything ourselves, from the buying, the actually walking the properties. This time usually I do it over FaceTime. So that was fun. And then us looking at properties together was fun. And then also like fixing it up and then even dealing with tenants. So I kind of want to see his perspective and also share like a little bit of investing as a couple, because there's a little things that you have to deal with that luckily with our background, with our relationship, like we kind of can handle, and because we've worked together before. So but yeah, I want to get his perspective and share how it went.
Yeah, and I also have extra questions for these two because I do not. Dave, this is the first time I'm meeting you. And
Yeah.
even though I met Violetta in person or at a conference in Vegas earlier this year, obviously you've always been a subject of talk because we talk about a lot about personal relationships and how wife and husband, they need to be on the same page when they're investing. And financial topics and general money conversations are not easy to have with your partner. So I just want to hear a little bit of the story of the background. How did you meet Violeta? How did you meet each other?
Yeah, well, first of all, thanks for having me. This is new to me because I've never been on a podcast, so it's exciting, and you might have a lot of editing to do. But yeah, her and I met in the Navy 12 years ago or so, and it's funny because when we first met, I did not like her. She was a
Right.
pain. We had the same job. We were both in admin, and we worked in the same office. And I remember one time I was coming back from being sort of stationed somewhere else, and I was taking over what she used to do. And so as we were doing our turnover and I started doing her job so she could do something else, she had left some files that she didn't finish. And I came by the desk and I was like, hey, I'm not doing your work here. And all she did was she took a circle, like a lap around the office, and came back and dropped them back on my desk and kept going. I was like, what is she doing? So yeah, from there I didn't like her at all. And
Yeah.
then she ended up getting orders and transferring to another ship in the same area. So we went to like a going away party at her house. And after that's when we actually started hanging out and getting to like each other.
That's because we were each other's competition, like for promotion purposes.
Yeah.
So we like were competing. So and then we both had the same kind of mentality, like, oh, I'm the best worker here and type stuff. So then he was actually like sent to another department. And so then when he came back, he thought he was hot shit and I thought I was hot shit. So then two top people. So that caused a lot of the tension. And so that's why I did what I did, because I was like, you're not going to come here and tell me, what to do, like here. So that was kind of the start.
Yeah, that's how
Yeah.
it started. And then you guys started hanging out and then you started seeing a different side of her, it sounds like.
Yeah. And I like her now. So,
That's good because you do have a kid together.
right. Yeah. Yeah. We hung out for, I don't know, maybe a year or so, kind of flirting and whatever else. And then I was going on a family cruise, and I kind of told Violeta and her friend, I was like, yeah, we're going on this cruise. And she was like, oh, we'll go on a cruise too. And she happened to go on the same exact one I was going on. So then on the
Wow.
cruise, we would hang out. And that's when we actually started dating, was once we went on the cruise. So,
When you met her, I mean, I know her now, right? And you guys have been together for a long time, but I always see Violeta's drive. Even like I tried to get into her podcast because I was such in awe of like having somebody to look up in my community that is doing like fire or is doing like any type of money education, financial education online. So I tried to get on her podcast to talk to her, right? Did you always see Violetta trying to like get ahead in life or just making sure that she's sharing with her community all the things that she's doing now?
oh yeah, she's done it ever since I've known her. It's nonstop, 24/7. Even at 9, 10 p.m. when we're going to bed, I'll get annoyed sometimes because she'll still be on her phone, and I'll look over and like, what are you doing? And she's researching something for a podcast or something to share with the community. So, and that's what she kind of was mentioning earlier. She was always doing the real estate and kind of being the brains behind the whole operation because they were further away. We didn't have to physically touch anything. And she's so smart at doing that stuff and the financial stuff that I just let her do it. And I would just keep working and putting money in the account for her to use. And so would she. But, like she mentioned, I would take care of more of the house stuff and maintenance and stuff like that. And then now that we're here and we're physically able to touch a property that we've invested in, now I'm more involved, and it's fun.
What was your initial background on that? Because I know that I also have a partner, and then he had like no idea what real estate was like. And majority of the times, he's like, "Well, if you're doing that, that's like kind of insane." Right, especially because she did it and ended up going out of state. What was your initial gut reaction when that happened?
Oh, probably the same as your husband's. I was like, what? What do you do? You can't see the property. You don't know if there's issues. You're just trusting people, hundreds of miles away to tell you that everything's okay. And yeah, she would just keep buying stuff, and then eventually it would work out. She has this eye for, she can see something and see the potential in it. Whereas I'm not that good at it. I mean, even when we bought the land now that we currently live on, it was just plain land. There was not a structure here at all. Wasn't even a road connecting to it. So when we originally came and looked at the land, she's like, "Yeah, we're buying this 10 acres." I was like, "For what? What are we gonna do out there?" But she saw the vision, and now we have a house, and there's power poles coming back to the land, and all kinds of stuff.
So even the move to Texas was basically planned by her, but you were taking along to a lot of journeys. When you moved from California to here, there was a lot that I saw on YouTube as well on the videos that they were posting of like a lot of site decoration, a lot of being there for the constructors. Did you get like a taste of that lifestyle that she wanted to live?
Oh yeah, we were here for quite a bit of it, and once I started getting here and seeing them do the original like pad that they put the house on, and the power poles came in, the house got delivered, that's when I was like, okay, I'm excited. And now I mean, we do stuff all the time. My neighbor has a skid steer that he let me borrow not too long ago, and I was out there driving around trying to level out the ground and the driveway and stuff. I made it worse, but I tried.
Yeah, he did. We have a lake now right by our driveway because he was trying to like level it or something and it
Yep.
just didn't work out. It was crazy. Yeah, when we bought this, like there was nothing. There was not even neighbors. Like it really was just like all rural. And then now, like this whole street, this whole long county road that we're on, it was nothing but just bushes and mesquite trees. And then now, like this whole road is covered with people now. So it was something like, yeah, like I could see it developing. And even the front lots have been bought out. So soon there'll be like houses there too. So yeah, I'm glad that he trusted me that that
Well,
of my
yeah,
vision.
it was literally from town where there's like a Walmart. It was like a 15-minute drive out into a county road. And this was 2 or 3 years ago. Like she said, there was no houses out here. So we would literally get lost going to the plot of land that we bought. And all the plots were just numbered. There was no addresses or anything. So we always got lost. And then at one point we were at somebody else's land, and we were like, this doesn't look familiar. So we, found ours. But I definitely at first was like, I don't see how we're gonna live out here. and we came out here in the van and just sat. And I remember it was probably 2 years ago, maybe I brought beer, so I could say that I had a beer for the first time on my land. And there was nothing. We were just sitting in the bushes in a van.
And now you see a house with your office in it, with your, deck in the back, and
Oh
you
yeah.
playing with the plants and getting their hands dirty and stuff. That's so cool. But when did that change? Because I know now that since you built that home there, and then now she's taking her backyard investing. When did you like decide to become just a little more hands-on in this?
I would say probably when, I mean, I was always there and willing to help. She just never needed the help or never asked. Maybe there was too much stuff going on and she just did it all on her own. But it wasn't until we actually moved here, maybe in May or June, we came over here and we had to stay in our RV for 2 months before moving into the house. Once they delivered the house, I came over here and installed a mailbox before the house was even here. I was like, I'm gonna go do some stuff over there. That's all I could do at the time, but it was fun, and I started saying, okay, what else can we do?
Yeah, yeah. And then now that the rental is like pretty much local to you guys, how was that process done for you? Like now that she kind of has to move all of her operations like in-house, right? Instead of like managing the manager, calling them up, she is, oh, I have to go to Home Depot again. I have to go to Walmart again because I forgot this, or I need like more plastic or a paint or whatever. How was that for you?
Well, I'll be honest, I personally rather manage the property locally because from what I've overheard and some conversations her and I have had about the properties in Wisconsin, the other duplexes, it's one of those things where I wish I was there. Or I wish she had let me talk to the managers on the phone and be a little bit more stern than she is about certain things. So here, she's already told me, she's like, yep, here's the numbers to the tenants. You're it. If they need something, then you take care of it. So I like it because I'm a little bit more, like I said, stern when it comes to certain things and how they should do stuff, when they should pay rent. I mean, the one tenant was late on rent one time, and I was telling her, I was like, we need to send them a notice. And she was like, no, it's fine. They'll pay it. And sure enough, they did because she knows the whole process and she's used to it. They
Mhm.
paid like the remaining balance 5 days later or whatever, which is okay. But I was like, no, I'm going to call them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good balance. That's what I think we're a good team with that because I don't really like confrontation. I'll do it for like other people, but if it's for myself, like I will just suck it up and I'm like, okay, it's not that big of a deal unless it's like a super big deal. But him, he's definitely more good with conflict basically. And he doesn't do it in like in an asshole way, but he's very good with people. It's funny and people like don't take offense with him, but I feel like with me they would probably. They'll probably like resist or whatever. So yeah, with the Milwaukee properties, now that we're settled with here, I think the next step is like then take those over. And now that he has like some experience and seeing how it goes, the only thing I have to do is kind of like research what all I have to do. Like, do I have to take some courses, like landlord things and like licenses, whatever trainings I got to do, especially since I think like two of them are Section 8 housing. So there's things that I have to do there too, I think, to take them over and all that. So that'll be in the process. But yeah, it was fun seeing real estate investing through his eyes. And even when we were shopping with properties, it was funny because, like, again, I see the vision and he's like, this is what this property and all that. So, and I was like, yeah, but look, once you do this and that, and we're gonna get this much around, then I think by the time we got to this property, he was starting to understand and see what I was trying to get at and get past the ugliness of the properties that we were looking at.
Including the one that you own right now, where the rehab finished, right? And
Yeah.
then both with it. Yeah. The sense of accomplishment that you get from renting out a unit is kind of like the dopamine that we keep trying to hit. Also, we know it's like a good financial decision what we're doing investing, but at the same time, like you feel so accomplished when a task is done too. And I feel like as an investor over the years, you get so used to that reinforcement, and it's just now it's on to the next one. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say that he's definitely now like Oh yeah, he definitely wants a break though because he did a lot of the work. So yeah, a little bit of that background is that I did most of, like, I helped out too, right? Like I painted and all that stuff, but he did more of like the harder stuff. Like he had to build the decks, he had to like take down a lot of like the floors and the wall, and then he had to do the drywall and stuff. So all the heavier stuff he did. I did like the fun stuff like painting. But yeah, I think we did good team. He definitely learned a lot. I would say I think learned a lot about himself. So I'm curious to see like what I guess his takeaway is now doing like the projects now, cuz you learned a lot, and I think that was some of the I would say like which comes back to play from when we were working together, because we did have to learn how to do like conflict resolution, because one of the things, yeah, doing like the rehab, you get like obviously frustrated and stuff like that. So like I think we're really good at like, yeah, we get like frustrated at that moment, but then we let it go right away because we're like, okay, it's the property that's causing this stress, and then we just resolve it and then fix what we need to fix, and that's it. So I think I want to know, well, first of all, I kind of want to bring up of how, because I remember when we were walking this property, one of the things I do is take over like slumlord properties. So I want him to share like what his thoughts were as we were walking this property, because I know that opened his eyes to a world where like he sees about slumlords, people living in these conditions.
Mhm.
Oh yeah, I mean, the first couple properties we looked at, I was still so closed-minded. It was like, no, that's a waste of money. We're not. I'm not even going to attempt it. And then this last one, it was like, okay. And like you guys were mentioning, by then I was kind of on board with it and understanding that we're going to buy something that looks like it needs work, and then put a little bit of work into it, and then it will be fine. So when we bought this one, but when we did the walkthrough, both sides are rented out, and there's tenants. One side has one, two, three people and like three dogs, and they had a whole bunch of furniture and stuff, so you can't really see any of the issues. And then same with the other side, it had just one tenant. It's a one bed, one bath. But immediately going in, Violeta already knew like we're gonna have to paint, and I was like, well, yeah. And then the floor was so damaged because of the way they installed it that I was like, okay, we need to replace the floor. But it was like 600 square feet, and I've done plenty of LVP flooring in my life, so I was like, that won't be hard at all. Well, other than that, I was really relying on the property inspection. And when they came back, there was a couple things that we had addressed, but most of, the bones of it was fine. So I was like, all right, great. And it was it wasn't until, I don't know, a month ago during the renovation that I was like asking her, I was like, didn't we get an inspection? She's like, yeah. I was like, I need to call them and tell them that we're suing them and all this stuff because they didn't tell us X, Y, and Z. And then she's like, well, they're not going to go inside the walls. And I was like, oh. And I just had to be grumpy about it. Yeah, I was literally, at first, I knew about the floor. We definitely knew we were going to paint. And then there's four decks, and all four of them were damaged. They weren't up to code at all. And I knew I had to do all four of the decks. But I had just built a 10 by 24 deck at my house with my dad. So I was like, okay, that won't be hard. And then I think from that I estimated, I was like, we'll probably spend maybe $2,000 to $3,000 on this renovation, and we'll be good. I was
Mhm.
wrong. It was, I think the decks alone, because I thought there was some structure I could save, and there just wasn't at all. I had to replace the entirety of the deck, rip everything out. So one of the decks cost, I don't know, $600 or $700 in materials alone. And then it wasn't until I started doing all these jobs that I realized that there were a lot of tools that I needed that I didn't have. I probably spent $800 in tools alone to do some of these projects. But it was fine. Every time we'd go and I'd swipe the credit card at Lowe's, I'd log into my account and then pay it. And I was like, okay, yeah, this is working. And then like we kept swiping and I kept paying and swiping and paying. And I was like, wait, hold on now. We are past $3,000. I don't know. I think I haven't even gotten a full legitimate count. I have some of the receipts here, but there's definitely a lot more. I think we're probably at about 7,000 if you include the tools that I had to buy. And that's just for the stuff that we bought and did ourselves. We
Mhm.
also had to get some plumbing done, some insulation done, and some other stuff. So it was fun. You kind of mentioned it earlier, like when you have a finished product and you get that dopamine. That's definitely how it was. Everything that we started and then finished, it was like, man, this looks great. But there was 30 other things to do.
Yeah.
It wasn't until what was it last weekend that we actually finally finished and a tenant moved
Mhm.
in.
Yeah, yeah, that was nice. I think that's what, like you were saying, like doing it hands on, you really get the idea of how much like everything costs and like everything that you need, because you forget some of the tools that you're gonna need for some things like the floor. I'm like, okay, like yeah, it snaps in place, but then you gotta get the cutter. And so there goes that. And then you got measuring stuff. And then you need to do the trim because you got to remove the trim and then you got to put it back. So then you need the nail gun for that. And like, so yeah, we acquired a lot of tools, but I was saying like, well, we get to use them for our house projects too, because we got so many house projects as well. And for another property that we end up getting. And so like, yeah, the money started racking up. His credit card started going up, and then my credit card started going up. And initially, my guess was like going to be like $10,000 for this rehab.
Mhm.
And the idea was I'm still owed some money that was supposed, which was going to be like almost 10 grand, and I was going to use that. But the problem is I still haven't gotten that money until I had to start using my credit cards. Luckily, I have some credit cards. He has credit cards too that we were using. And so I want to see how much you think, because I don't think I have told him yet, like
How
kind
much
of
is
the
sold
final number.
anyway?
We don't have a final number because I still got to add all like the random receipts, but I think that will probably be another maybe 1,000 or so, because I've done most of the receipts that he's given me, but there's a few like from the last week that I haven't put in there. So I want to see like how much you think we've spent so far.
I mean, I basically paid on my card for everything we did personally and bought at Lowe's. And then I know you had a bunch of expenses for some contractors that had to do stuff that I could not do and I wouldn't do because I wouldn't want to mess it up. I'm not licensed to do plumbing, electrical, things like that, so I wouldn't do it. I would assume that you probably spent close to 13,000 and then I spent another 7 around there. But before you tell me the answer or an estimate, I think that just from hearing about the Wisconsin properties and doing turnover and stuff, how much they charge even for something small as painting, like we would
Mhm.
have spent $30,000 or more to renovate this property if we didn't do it ourselves.
Yeah, because I think one of my properties, I think I spent like about almost 6 grand to put LVP on the units. So that alone, I think for this one unit,
It was $600 and
yeah,
2 days
about
worth of
600.
work.
Yeah. So that's a huge difference. Same thing with the painting. The unit turnover for the one that I was doing currently, the paint was like $2,000, I think it was, just to repaint the unit. And it was only like maybe $200. Let's see,
Yep.
one, two, three, four, about $200 worth of paint.
Mhm.
And maybe, let's say, another $50 for the materials and stuff. And so from 2000 to just maybe like 250, and then it's just me painting, like that's saving in itself. The removal too, the trim and all that. Like we saved a lot on the labor, which helped out with some of the surprises like the termite thing that we got. We opened it up fixing the wall because I thought it was just moisture, but then it's like, oh, it's termites. So that was $2,000. And then the electrical work was kind of like a little bit somewhat of a surprise because I didn't know that the mini split. So the tenant had installed it, but he didn't install it on the right type of plug. So then I had to pay an electrician since he was already coming in to do some of the electrical work for the laundry hookups, and so had him install that, and all that combined with other electrical work too because he fixed the electrical box too. Then that was about $4,700. And then the plumbing, they had to do like some capping of some of the gas pipes, like they cut them shorter because they were all sticking out and everything and not capped. So they did that. They fixed some of the older stuff, and then they put the washer dryer hookups, all that. They had to put all that new. So that was another $4,700. And then I had suspected asbestos insulation up there. And so that was another $4,500 plus. $2,000 to put new insulation, which the insulation we could have saved on that one, but like it's just time as well. And I was like, we probably would have saved like maybe $500.
You were like, "Oh, you could put a Tyvek suit on and we could rent the insulation blower and you can do it." And I was like,
Yeah.
"We're in Texas in June. I'm not going in the attic."
Yeah, but yeah, also like the time, we didn't have time because he had to
Yeah.
do all this other stuff. And I was like, ah, I was like, fine, I'll find someone. And then they did it in like, I think 45 minutes. They
Right.
were done. It
Wow.
was like, oh, perfect. So, I mean, yeah, we could have saved maybe $500, but because some of the other ones, they were trying to charge me way up there too. But I found this one that was like good and they gave me a good discount. So, and then junk removal was like 975. So I think roughly we're at 20K. I think I just got to add a few more receipts that you have from the past week
There's like
that
17 of them in my truck.
well, I took all those, so those should be up there, I
Oh,
think, unless you have more. But
It's
yeah,
funny
so
because Dave mentioned things who inspected this house. And when usually when you go into real estate, you're like, oh, I'm gonna find out what's wrong with the house with the inspection. But the
mhm,
inspection is just one layer of security, right? Like the only
mhm,
thing that they do look at is like roof looks like this, maybe recommend changing it in 5 or 10 years. Under the
mhm,
sink, no leaks, whatever, furnace or HVAC age, boiler age, floor crack, whatever, foundation. If you need anybody to come and see an expert, I can tell you foundation is great. So recommends foundation inspector. The same
mhm,
thing with the piping, the sewage as well. Like most of, for example, in our market would recommend a sewage scope when you do an inspection, which is an additional inspection. Very rarely the inspector does both. And if they do, they charge you severely more. But
mhm,
yes, there is just basically structurally, yes, but they do not go into the wall. So every single homeowner, even not just investing, but homeowner that goes into a house, they're like, oh, why is the water pressure so low? Or what's going on with the microwave? Why is this like, short coding or whatever? So
mhm.
yeah, there's a lot more that you find out with the house when you actually live in it, more so than the inspector told you.
oh yeah. Yeah, at one
Yeah.
point there was a kind of a window unit, AC unit in the bedroom that for some reason they installed straight into the wall instead of into the window. So Violet saw that there was maybe some water or something, and she was like, "We have to take off this wall panel to make sure there's no, water damage or whatever." So we take it off, and sure enough, there's water damage. I had to replace a couple pieces of 2x4 in the wall for structural integrity, and then obviously we knew we were gonna have to get new drywall and new wall panel. Well, so this damage kind of stretched beyond under the window, so we're like, okay, let's rip some more wall off. And as we were taking all this wall off, we got to one section where there was just, you could see all the termite activity. And luckily, there was nothing alive in there. And the guy who came and looked at it said that they were all like agricultural termites. So they didn't do much damage. They were just living in the walls at some point. But either way, we had to tear all that out and replace all of that. And then the floor was a worse issue because we knew the floor had to get replaced. But as we pulled up all this old LVP, or I don't even know if it was LVP, it was similar, but it was very thin and cheap. But we're pulling all this stuff up and we're realizing that the subfloor is all wood planks. It's wood plank subfloor. So it's not solid like OSB or anything like
Right.
that. And there's holes in random spots in the floor where maybe old piping was coming up or whatever. I don't know. But it was just like one thing after another.
I know when you do have a renovation, you're like, oh, they're going to open up the wall. I don't want to find out what's behind the wall.
Oh,
Not tearing
yeah.
down the walls. Yeah, for sure. But interesting. Also, I wanted to do a fun question answer kind of thing. One question would answer rapid fire kind of terms for you. Since we live in this world, we talked about this on a weekly basis and we interview people that live in this world. There's a few terms that we talk about as very normally, but I don't know if you're aware of those. So I wanted to see if we can do a little rapid fire questionnaire with you.
Okay.
Okay.
A
Don't
little
be
pop
scared.
quiz.
Don't be scared. If you don't know, just say you don't know, and then we'll explain it to the viewers. What is equity mean?
Equity is I'm not good at explaining things on the spot, but it's basically how much money you have into the house. So like if you bought it at 200,000 and now it's worth 250, you have 50,000 in equity.
Okay. What does cash flow mean?
Cash flow would be the positive income of a rental property after
Mhm.
you're paying your expenses.
That includes your mortgage
Yeah.
and any other expenses that, yeah. Awesome. What does capital expenditures mean?
I don't know. I don't know that one. That's why Violet's here.
Okay. No, totally fine. We talk about capital expenditures all the time in this podcast. And capital expenditures meaning is the money that you put aside from your rental income that is supposed to go towards long-term improvements to the house. So if anything goes out, like a HVAC unit, like a roof, like a furnace, we put aside at least a percentage of the rental income in order to basically make a little savings account for that big expenditure. And it's
All
called
right.
expenditures because it goes in its own little bucket when you are is ready to spend it when you file your taxes.
Okay. I knew we were putting money aside for repairs, but I didn't know what it was called.
Yeah. What is a normal vacancy rate?
Vacancy? I don't know. I mean, as far as I know, every duplex Violeta's bought has been occupied, and then that's why this one kind of slapped us in the face 15 days after closing. The guy left. We were like, oh no.
Yeah. Yeah. Vacancy rate is another it's specific bucket out of your rental income that you set aside. Usually it's somewhere between 5 to 10% that you set aside for vacancy rates. And that is supposed to cover when you do have a vacant unit, when you do have a turnover or rehab the unit for another tenant to come in. It could be 20 days, it could be a month, it could be whatever it is, but it's supposed to be for that particular turnover.
Okay.
Is there anything that Violeta talks about all the time and then you're like, I don't really fully understand what she's talking about?
Trying to think. I mean, I don't think so much anymore. Obviously, at first, I mean, it was everything. I mean, growing up, I never even thought I would own my own house, let alone we've now owned a few together, and now all these rental properties. So when we first started off, it was funny because when we bought our house in California, when we were looking and stuff, the guy showing us the house would often like talk to me about everything. And I literally had to tell him, like, look, she's the one buying the house. I'm just here. Like, she'll ask questions or you tell her stuff. And then, like, it didn't sit with him. He kept asking me stuff. And I was like, it's not me, man. I don't know.
That is
Um,
true. There was a few times because it was that one, and then when we were trying to look for, at one point we were going to buy an investment property because the house that we bought it for like ourselves, and then we're like, well, we still have some time, so maybe we should like move out and then buy actual investment property. And when we started looking at that one, the same thing happened where they were just like asking him and all that stuff, and every time he's like, I'm just here. Like she's the one that knows everything. You need to ask her.
yeah.
Yeah, it is a common thing that happens when we go to meetups as well. Of like they
Mhm.
just go, we don't know anything about the real estate investing or we're just a realtor or anything like that. Specifically when you talk to contractors, I'm sure defer a lot of that to you as well because contractors can be a little bit too much.
I have heard people over explain to my wife where, like, I was like, she knows. You don't have to explain it. She knows what you're saying. Moving on. And that's kind of the world we're in, which is unfortunate and it's not right. But I never even realized it until, her and I started investing is like, she's the brains of everything. She knows all of it. And all these people will constantly call me or ask me questions or email me. And I got an email not too long ago, that I just forwarded to her. I didn't even say anything. I just forwarded it straight to her. Like, you do this. I don't know.
See you, see this.
Yeah.
Fix this. Yeah. Awesome. But it was so nice to talk to you for the first time and then see actually who's supporting Violeta and making sure that she's being helped with all those things too. Like it's a lot. It's a lot to take in. And I know that you have been now firsthand experiencing it. And then when you do invest out of state, it's like a whole different thing because you can't be there. So you kind of trust the eyes and the ears of everybody else in terms of contractors, realtors, or property managers. So, and then you make decisions from that perspective too, right? But firsthand, definitely experiences, I think the best for sure.
Oh yeah, and now we both know too that, if it comes to a property that's not local, that they're trying to tell us, hey, XYZ needs to be fixed, it's going to cost this much money. I've already told her, I was like, you make all the decisions, but let me talk to them so that I can either tell them yes or no or haggle or something, because I just fixed drywall. You're not going to charge me $1,000 for drywall, you know? So I can kind of do that stuff because she doesn't like the confrontation, but I do. I don't mind getting on the phone and telling them, like, absolutely not. I'm not paying you that. So yeah, it'll be fun.
Yeah, you can
Yeah,
make
he's gonna be the one that talks to the property manager, and once we switch over, I was like, "You
And I'm
go be the
definitely
bad
not
guy."
an expert, but now that we've done it, the people who are experts and have the right tools and equipment, I mean, I'm not going to let them overcharge. We were talking about painting. She told me it was 2000 or something like that. And I said it would be cheaper if we flew up there and painted it ourselves. Let's
Hmm.
go.
let's go. I mean, she can, but I know also it's also the mentality of growing a business versus delegating, right? Like, because you guys are currently in this area and you have a full time job, and she
Yeah.
has her own business as well too. So I think once you move everything in house, it will take, I think, a long time to transition, but maybe like do it one at a time, and that's actually, stable, and then you can take the time off to go and do those things, or at least build a team there, like get a handyman or get somebody that you trust that is going to look at the work being done and not overcharge you.
Yeah,
Hmm.
for sure.
And you want to increase your cash flow like that because you won't have to pay a property manager anymore.
Yeah, yeah, that's what I'm looking at too. It's like I might as well take it over. So yeah, that's the goal when we come back. So yeah.
Well, it's been nice talking to you guys, and then I hope David comes back and we can talk about the other properties you guys are going to acquire.
Oh yeah, yeah. I was telling him, I was like, oh, we're waiting until we come back from vacation next month, and then of course we have my stepson. So I don't want to start a project right now, but yeah, once summer's over, we're gonna start looking for the next project.
Yay.
And while I wrap up for our episode, please check out our podcast on Spotify, YouTube, whatever you can download a podcast. And we see each other in the next one.